I'm Jack Kennedy, and we're here to bring you the latest in MMA.
Hey everybody, my name's Hunter Boss, and what the boss says goes.
What is up everyone, my name is Keelan McNamara, and you already know what time it is.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the MMA Island Podcast. I am Jack Kennedy alongside Keelan McNamara and Hunter Boss. Let's go ahead and get started with the news. A couple podcasts back, we talked about Elon Musk versus Vladimir Putin, and I thought that was our, ridiculous talk out of the way for at least a month. But no, the Oscars roll around, and something I thought we would never talk about on this podcast. Maybe us three would start a movie podcast one day and talk about it. But no, we're talking about it on our MMA podcast because Will Smith slapped Chris Rock in the face for making a joke about his wife. Phenomenal stuff. We saw it all over the place. It's blowing up. Everybody knows about it. We're talking about it because it involved a Stockton slap. Hunter, what's your opinion on this incident?
If we start talking about everyone who gets slapped, we're going to be talking for days, No. It was unprofessional at that. I feel like I'm using that word a good amount this week, Jorge Masvidal, Conor McGregor, and now Will Smith. Unprofessional, honestly. He made it. Chris Rock, if you guys don't know, made a joke about Will Smith's wife being starred in G.I. Jane 2. I don't know the full story behind all of that and what to unpack, but from what it looks like on surface level, doesn't seem that bad of a joke. But I guess Will Smith is sick and tired of everyone talking about his wife. So in the middle of his monologue and his jokes and what he's saying, Will Smith walks up on stage and bitch slaps the shit out of Chris Rock. And Chris Rock took it like a champ, I have to say.
Yeah.
I mean, but he stood there and was like, oh, wow, I just got slapped by Will Smith. Like, oh, ha, ha. And then, like, not even a minute later, he continues on with, like, whatever he was talking about. So I'm like, kudos to Chris Rock for being able to continue. Maybe don't talk about Will Smith's wife anymore, I guess. I mean, I understand there was obviously some turmoil between the two, and even just the wife and Will Smith in general have their set of problems.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what I'll say about it is that it was extremely unprofessional, and I hope to talk about the Oscars next year again, to be honest. I think that made it actually worth watching for the first time in a long time. So, yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Are we ever just going to have one normal episode of this podcast?
Not anymore.
Every week, something happens. Everybody's trying to go to jail now. Being in prison is the popular thing, it seems. Dude, I hope I hope everybody who works for the Miami and the LA police departments are getting the overtime they deserve, because good God, it's kicking off out here in these streets. Yeah, where do I even start with unpacking the Oscars? I didn't think we'd ever get here, but here we are. Yeah, first and foremost, I didn't think it was that bad of a joke. Taking it down a notch for a second. Look, I love Will Smith. Probably all of us have grown up with Will Smith, but I'm a big Chris Rock guy. Love his stand-up, love his comedy. To me, he's the sort of spiritual heir to Eddie Murphy. That's why I'm a big fan of him. And yeah, look, Chris Rock is a very particular type of comic. He is not an offensive comic. He's not a vindictive, hurtful comic. He has a playful sense of humor, I like to think. And yeah, Hunter briefly went into the background of what went on, but I'll try and elaborate a little bit more on what I know. Basically, Will Smith's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith, has gone on about entanglements and all this kind of stuff. I don't even want to get into that. But basically, she's come out recently and said she has alopecia. And of course, alopecia means you lose all your hair. Fair enough, no problems with that. And basically, as Hunter very correctly said, Chris Rock saw Jada Pinkett Smith and said, look forward to seeing G.I. Jane 2. I thought it was a funny joke, okay? Not vindictive, not hurtful, nothing near what Ricky Gervais said a year or two ago. Let's be totally honest here. Imagine if he'd said it. Look, it was funny. Will Smith was even laughing. If you've seen the full video, he thought it was funny. He was laughing, and his wife gave him the daggers, and then he went up and slapped him. And yeah, look, Chris took it like a fucking G, by the way. Didn't look phased, didn't look concerned at all. Went on with the show. I think, and I don't like bringing it to a serious point because it is funny and the internet's completely melted over the last day or so. I think this speaks to a topic that needs much more light on it, which is male mental health. Will Smith is not in a good place, I don't think, at all. I think, and again, this is my opinion, come at me if you want, but this is my opinion. I think Will Smith is in an extremely unhealthy relationship in his personal life. And look, it's not my place to go into the intricacies of that because he's a married man, it's his relationship, it's not my business. But from what we do know in the public realm, it seems to me like an extremely unhealthy setup they both have. I mean, Jada got into her private business with a friend of his son. Now, look, again, not my private business. I don't really care all that much. But even to me, that's concerning. That is troubling when you're messing around with people who are half, 3 times your age. There's a problem there, right, wrong, or indifferent. And look, Will Smith, I think, is a really good guy. I think he's salt of the earth. I think he's a very, very good person. But Hunter touched on something, and I'm really glad you did touch on it, Hunter. He has become a laughing stock. He has been dragged through the mud. He's been memed more times than I can quite literally count.
Hey, I didn't say this about Will Smith, okay? I love Will Smith.
Yeah, we all love Will Smith.
I didn't say he became a laughing stock. Fuck, man. I love Men in Black.
This took a turn.
Yeah.
My favorite movies.
Legal disclaimer, Hunter did not say, I said he's become a laughing stock. Hunter did not, just to legally clarify that. But he touched on the right point. His name has been expounded on so much over the last couple of years because of the business between him and his wife, which is their business. And I think we saw a guy who finally snapped and who finally had enough. And look, Will Smith and Chris Rock are really good friends. They go back to the days of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And we're talking 20, 30 years from there. So look, it's funny, didn't press charges, all that kind of stuff. That's all well and good. But to bring it back to a human serious note, I think Will Smith needs a lot of help in his personal life. I think he's struggling, and I really hope he gets the help that he's looking for. Over to you, Jack.
I feel like we've turned into TMZ for this segment,
and we're still better than them.
Let's speculate about the relationship. Look, I don't know. I think that you guys kind of nailed it with the whole thing. I mean, he said the joke. The joke was funny. If you look at it from an objective point of view. In these things, like if you look, I think he did the Golden Globes, but it's the same sort of deal. The Ricky Gervais thing, he was out there just roasting everybody for everything, and I think it's not more of that joke from Chris Rock is less of a target because she's Will Smith's wife, more just at her because she's an actress, and I think that's just like what he was doing at everybody. So I agree with you. I think if we're gonna put our conspiracy hats on and talk about this in whatever light, I could see the relationship thing being weird because obviously, I mean, we said there had their issues. We know what the issues were. She was sleeping around with other people, and they've worked that out supposedly. And then if Will Smith is really, he doesn't like that that's out there, he's going to be extra protective, right? So he hears that, he laughs a little bit. She gives him the dagger eyes. He's like, okay, here we go. It goes up there, it happens, and I agree with you guys. I don't think Chris Rock did anything wrong. I think he handled it professionally, he handled it amazing, and honestly, above anything, this all just is great for him and the Oscars and pretty much everybody because views get there. Chris Rock is like, that's just kind of funny. Like, I got slapped by Will Smith at the Oscars. Like, what in the world? You get all the memes off of it. Look, I mean, I agree with you guys. Like, I think the Oscars are celebrating right now because that's something to finally get viewership on their thing, especially in a year like this where a lot of the Academy Award winners, like, you really like didn't watch any of their movies for the most part. So
Exactly.
I think it's good for. I think it's ironic as it is. I think it's good for pretty much everybody. And you still have people supporting Will Smith and this and that. It's not really my place to comment on it. I'll just say it's funny. It happened, and somehow we're talking about the Oscars on our MMA podcast. So that's a win-win for everybody. With that, let's go ahead and move on to the best of the best. And today we're talking Kai Kara-France got a very close win over Askar Askarov. Fight delivered like we predicted. How does he match up against the winner of Figueiredo versus Moreno? Hunter, what do you think?
Not well, I think. I don't know. Here's the way I view it. I see Davison Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno as like the top of the division, no matter what. Like they're number one contender and the champion, right? To even get near that division, you have to, or near that like level of skill, you're gonna have to beat the number one contender or even champion at that, right? And then you're known as the best in the world. I don't think Kai Kara-France has the skill set to beat either of those fighters. I thought he did a great performance against Askar Askarov, but I also think that both fighters would be Askar Askarov. I think we're at that point. There's so many different weight divisions right now that are experiencing this, but the number one contender and the champion are levels above the rest of the competition, and that is what I'm seeing right now. Other people can see it differently. I know there's a lot of Kai Kara-France France fans out there. Wow, that's a tongue twister. I dare you to say that 5 times fast. But I think they might disagree with me. It's my opinion on the matter. I just think that Figueiredo and Moreno are genuinely that good, that everyone else below them are not only just below them in the number, but in levels of skill rankings here. So I give it that. I think the question was, is Kai Kara-France like good enough to beat the winner of the two? Or whatever the question is, it's something along the lines of that.
Yeah, sorry, Jack. It's something like that.
I don't think he can. But I think he could have maybe 5 years ago when they weren't in that division. Like he could have been that good of a champion. Maybe if he had the skill set back then. But nowadays, with the world of MMA evolving every second and every step of the way, I think that Moreno and Figueiredo would wipe the floor with Kai Kara-France.
Yeah. First of all, congratulations to Kai Kara-France. He's my guy in the draft. Finally got a point on the board. Tragic that I'm even celebrating that. Thank you. But yeah, great fight. Razor close decision. And look, I obviously wanted Kai Kara-France to win because he's my pick in the fantasy draft. But I could have seen that decision going to Askar Askarov as well, depending on who was scoring. I'm not going to lie. I did see it both ways, a bit like Matt Brown, Brian Barberena. I think there was a strong case for both, but he ended up getting the win, and we are where we are. In relation to the question for the best of the best this week, do I think he would beat Brandon Moreno or Davison Figueiredo? Honestly, I'm with Hunter on this. I don't think he would. And I don't think he would beat Alejandro Pantoja either. I think that would be a monstrously tough fight in itself. And he's kind of some people's number one contender as well. So realistically for Kai Kara-France, it's not even an issue of whether you would beat Moreno or Figueiredo. Would you even beat Pantoja? I think that would be a monstrously difficult fight for him. Because this is the thing with Kai Kara-France. Kai is a great fighter and that he's very quick and he can out-brawl anybody. The problem is flyweight has become such a technical division that if you don't have that technique, you will get exposed badly. And that's what even we saw with Askar Askarov in that first round. Askar completely out-wrestled him, got onto his back for most of the first round, and with another minute could have had him away with a rear naked choke mounted. So there's a big problem there with Kai Kara-France that Hunter's just mentioned. There's a huge gap in technical skill that can't be made up in that time. Brandon Moreno, technical-wise, wrestling-wise, far superior to Kai Kara-France. Davison Figueiredo, probably the best pure striker in the division, would probably knock KKF out. I think the question we should be asking here is, would Kai Kara-France even beat Alejandro Pantoja? And I don't think he'd even beat him, if I'm being totally honest, and he's on my side. So to answer the best of the best this week, do I think he would beat those guys fighting for the title? No, but anything can happen. It must also be said. But if you're talking best versus best on their day, I think both guys beat him pretty comfortably as well, if I'm honest.
That's really well put, and I agree with everything you said. I think, first off, mad props to Kai Kara France for the win. A lot of people, I think you could argue this fight for a draw for the decision. It was very, very close. I'm not upset with it though. I probably edged it towards Kai Kara France myself scoring it. Um, he looked good against a guy like Askar Askarov, but it's weird. It's almost like this result. I feel like if these guys fought 10 times, it would be a different result every single time.
Yeah.
Because I really think Askar Askarov is that good. And I think now I don't think he would still be able to beat either Moreno or Figueiredo, but I think Askarov would be a more difficult matchup for them than Kai Kara France is. So I think Kai Kara France might have reached his limit here. He's going to jump Pantoja, I think, for the title shot just because of this performance. And realistically, the Cody Garbrandt knockout, he just needed a ranked name to get him to that spot. When we're talking about just how good Moreno and Davis and Figueiredo are, they're, like you guys said, they're just on another level. I think the most accurate comparison we can make today would be Adesanya and Whitaker at 185. Those guys are just heads and heads and tails above everybody. Whitaker can he picked apart Jared Cannonier, who's going to be fighting for the title next. They both beat Derek Brunson. Vittori, I think we all agree, is not on the same level as Whitaker or Adesanya. And then you look at the flyweights, and there are a lot of good contenders top to bottom, and they're all pretty well-rounded, but no one is well-rounded as Brandon Moreno. I think he is one of the most well-rounded guys in the UFC roster, but especially the flyweight division. And when you look at Figueiredo, now he has the coaches and the game plan to make him one of the most dangerous men on the planet, plus the power. I think if Kai Kara France, I think he would have a tougher matchup with Brandon Moreno just because of the total well-rounded skill set. But if he was to face Figueiredo, I still wouldn't like his chances anymore because the way that fight would go, the way they would want to brawl with each other, Figueiredo has the size, the speed, and the power on Kai Kara France, which I think he would finish him. So look, again, all credit to Kai Kara France. Phenomenal performance, great fight. But especially after watching that, I think the way I would have seen it, if Kai Kara France went in there and somehow knocked out Askar Askarov, which nobody does, I know. But if he was able to do that like he did the Cody Garbrandt fight, we might be talking about a whole another different thing. But what I saw, I just see two guys that are just not quite on that level because Moreno and Figueiredo are on that championship level. That flyweight weight class is basically like having two champions right now, especially with how close they are. And this fourth fight, you could talk about making it, not making it. This is the fight you have to make because it is truly number one versus number two. Honestly, it's like number 1A versus number 1B because we're going to figure out who really is the best after this. They're 1-1-1. We've never seen it before. This fight just gets me more excited for that fight because we know how high level Brandon Moreno and Davison Figueiredo really are.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. If Kai Kara France went out here and knocked out Askar Askarov or submitted Askar Askarov, this would be a different conversation. But he didn't, and it was a razor split decision. It was an extremely close fight, and for a fighter to have an extremely close, razor thin split decision type of victory, and then get the title shot after it, it makes me, in any division, it would have made me question if he's ready for the champion or the number one contender at that. You can't just get in there and have a close win over someone who's highly regarded as one of the best fighters in the division, and then everyone started backing you up immediately. It's not how it works. We've seen Figueiredo fight plenty of times. We've seen Moreno fight plenty of times. We've seen how they can hold their own against each other, but we know for a fact that Moreno and Figueiredo are that good. Yeah. We know for the fact that Davis and Figueiredo can both submit you as well as knock you out. We know Moreno can do the exact same thing. We're seeing one dimension in this game of mixed martial arts and Kai Kara France in the fact that he is very reliant on his striking ability. I don't think he can strike as good as Moreno or Figueiredo or outdo them in any part of the game. That might be a little crude to say, but that's my honest opinion. I don't think that Kai Kara France is better than Moreno or Figueiredo in any aspect of the game of MMA, and that's why I don't think he can hold his own against the number one contender or champion.
Yeah, it just is what it is. That's the only way you can put it. Jack, I love the way you framed that fourth fight. It really is like champion 1A against champion 1B. Neither of these guys, I think, deserve to be called champion versus number one because they're 1-1-1. It's literally like there's two belts and the belts being fused between the two with whoever wins. And has it been confirmed from Mexico?
I don't
Did I
know.
Not confirmed. No.
Oh, I thought I saw it somewhere. Maybe that was just someone chatting absolute crap. But anyway, we know this is the fourth fight happening. It's like the belt being fused together, and we are going to find out who the king of that division is because we've got two absolute giants of that division fighting for that belt. But I really, really love what both you guys just said there by KKF, and I agree with it. The problem is that he's far too one-dimensional. He just is. And look, I didn't need to see a knockout or a submission against Askar Askarov. What I did need to see was a dominant, comfortable performance, and he didn't even do that. The fact that he got a razor-thin decision against one of the top four tells me he just won't do it against number one or number 1A or 1B. That is the problem. And like you said, Jack, and I absolutely agree with you, Hunter, you as well, of course. Don't get me wrong, he's great striking and he loves brawling. All you've got to do is miss one shot and you're on the ground against Brandon Moreno and you're not getting back up. All you've got to do is miss one shot against Davison Figueiredo and he'll break your jaw and knock you out as well. These are the margins that we're talking about. And like you said, this is probably the most stacked division aside from the middleweight division. And that tells you how good this division really is. Kai Kara-France, I love him. I picked him for a very good reason. But would he beat Brandon Moreno or Davis Figueiredo? I'm sorry, the answer is no.
Yeah, you guys absolutely nailed it. And furthering that, iron sharpens iron. And Brandon Moreno and Davison Figueiredo are going to be fighting each other for 4 times in a row. Facing champion 1A, 1B, like we're calling it, 4 times in a row is going to make you a better fighter no matter what. But especially the winner, the momentum that will carry to whoever the champion is after that fight. I don't know who's going to beat them until either Davison Figueiredo or Brandon Moreno work their way back up to maybe a 5th fight, which is insane that we're talking about that. But this division is so stacked. Pantoja is interesting because he has 2 wins over Brandon Moreno, 2 very close decisions. However, that was an old Brandon Moreno, and we don't know what's going to happen now. But that is the fascinating thing, that if Brandon Moreno wins and maybe defends against Kai Kara-France, then where does Pantoja fit into everything? I know we're going way too deep now, but this is kind of the scenarios that we're talking about, and there's way too much. But all right, guys, let's go ahead and move on to the discussion of the week. And first off, congratulations to Curtis Blades. We all kind of, said some not nice things about him the last podcast, but credit where credit is due. He went out there and put on a show and won by knockout, and I could not be happier to eat my own words. Congratulations to Curtis Blades. What's next for him? Hunter, what do you think?
Jack, I'd like to start this segment by apologizing. We might have clowned on Curtis Blades a little too hard in the last podcast episode because he went out there and made me eat my words just like that. And I'm sorry for the way that I have acted. I feel like I'm doing one of those terrible YouTuber apology videos. I take it all back. I'm sorry.
Where are the tears?
I
gotta get the fake tears going. No. In all reality, though, Curtis Blades shocked the world the other night. He knocked out, not cold, but he knocked out Chris Dawkins.
Yeah.
He TKO'd him. It was a huge right hand, and no one really saw it coming. He didn't even attempt to take down that fight. Totally changed our perception of Curtis Blades in this fight. And that is why what I want to do with him in this heavyweight division, Jack, is I want to put him against Cyril Gane.
Oh, okay.
I think 1 versus 4 right here. Both technically great on the ground. And now we can see that Curtis Blades can really handle himself on the feet as well. Cyril Gane is known to pick his opponents out on the feet. But I feel like this is going to be like the litmus test for both of them here. Yeah. The reason why Cyril Gane really lost that last fight was because he got out-wrestled by Ngannou. How well is Cyril Gane going to do against what is known as the best pure wrestlers in the UFC heavyweight division? as well as vice versa. We know that Curtis Blades is prone to getting knocked out and finished from heavyweights from time to time. How well is he going to do against one of the most challenging, puzzles in the book in Cyril Gane? This is a question that I need answering, and I need answering by the end of, next 5 months. I don't want this fight to go anywhere because honestly, Cyril Gane, from what I could tell, did not get too hurt in the Ngannou fight. Curtis Blades should be perfectly freaking fine. He can go run a marathon if he could, but both fighters need to fight here soon. And I like how the heavyweight division is looking right now. If I were to play matchmaker for the whole thing right now, Tai Tuivasa, Tom Aspinall, we need that fight. There's a certain cult of personality following behind both of them. It'd be great fan versus fan experience. So much I could say about this. If you guys saw the DC versus RC episode, DC actually put this very, very well, which is surprising to some because it was surprising to me. I'm like, oh, wow. I agree with DC. This is weird because I don't always agree with Daniel Cormier. He's a bit of a character sometimes, but I did like his adaptation of the heavyweight division currently. Cyril Gane versus Curtis Blades, as well as Tom Aspinall versus Tai Tuivasa, and we do Stipe Miocic versus John Jones for the interim heavyweight title. Boom, that's how it's done. It's not going to get better than that. Keelan, I dare you try.
I am going to try, Hunter, and I think I might just succeed. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, allow me to also go to the MMA chapel of confessions because I have a confession to make. I screwed up in my prediction as well, and I unfairly lambasted Curtis Blades as well. So congratulations, Curtis. Amazing performance, violent knockout, and yeah, you're finally exciting. So great job. I'm a fan now. You're officially off the shelf beside Rakic, and you're in neutral territory.
Far from neutral.
Keep up the good work, and we'll see how your progress is by the end of term. Anyway, teaching allegories and metaphors aside, very impressive. Like Hunter said, didn't attempt to take down once. Absolute sledgehammer of a right hand. Knocked out Chris Dawkins, and great performance from Curtis Blades. Looks like he's really worked on his stand-up game. His boxing looked a lot crisper, wasn't using it to set up takedowns, was actually following through, and by God, the man has got some power when he follows through. Good Lord, it was a sight to see. Now, we come to the interesting part of the evening where we do matchmaking for the heavyweight division, specifically the Razor Man himself, Curtis Blades. And I can't put him against Cyril Gane for one very good reason. As great a performance as it was, and I'm not going to criticize the performance, you beat number 9 in the division. And that's not a fair enough justification to jump past everybody else straight up to Cyril Gane, who just fought for the title. I see why it makes sense. Before I get ganged up on here and violently criticized, I do see why it makes sense. Don't get me wrong, I do. The problem is beating number 9 does not equate to fighting the guy who's just fought for the title in my eyes. It's too much of a gap at this point. But to that end, for every problem, there is, of course, a solution. So I hear you ask, or not, who is the solution for Curtis Blades? Well, my solution is Stipe Miocic. I think you've got a great wrestler against a great wrestler. You've got a great wrestler who's a former Golden Glove boxing champion against a guy who's finally decided to stand up and start trying to knock people out. I think you've got a hell of a main event there. I think you've got a great return fight for Stipe Miocic, and I think you've got a great name for Curtis Blades. Cyril Gane can do whatever he wants to do. Tai Tuivasa can fight Tom Aspinall, and do you know why that's the best way to go here? Because it's the Mystic Mac prediction. That's what I'm saying.
There we go. I like it. Not for predicting, guys, but you threw it out there.
Just.
It was better than the last one. It was better than the last one. So I'm gonna go ahead and stick with my whole. By the way, I love the heavyweights kind of stacked now. It's been a little bit.
It is, yeah.
It's pretty stacked now. We were in a range for a little bit where it was like Jairzinho, Rosenstruck, and Volkov were like
dark days, Jack. Dark days.
Alistair Overeem was making another run. But now we have a stacked division, and I'm sticking with my. We talked about this not too long ago, and I'm sticking with my heart here, and I'm still trying to set up in my mind a way for Tom Aspinall versus Tai Tuivasa to fight for the title, right? So that's my goal. And that is what I'm going to help with the matchmaking, because I know Dana White, I know Habib, I know everybody's listening to this. So this is what you got to do to make that fight happen, right? So we're going to go ahead and we're going to stick with Tai Tuivasa versus Cyril Gane, because that's the fight that I said in the last one. For Stipe, I still love the Tom Aspinall fight, so I think that still lines up. Now, though, because we have another person joining the mix with Curtis Blades, we're going to go ahead and throw John Jones into the loop, because he's been out and he's going to come back. And Curtis Blades is a top contender, so we're going to do Curtis Blades versus John Jones. How does John Jones handle someone that's so big and has great wrestling? How does Curtis Blades handle it so technical like John Jones? All of the questions that we've talked about. And then, boom, you have a fight right there. Don't make it for anything. Make it just whatever it is. And then you have the whole thing work out. And Ngannou, I don't really know what to talk about with him right now, because I'm just kind of ignoring him for the moment. But yeah, it's a great heavyweight division. Hunter, if I'm being completely honest, your way makes a lot of sense. And I think it's probably the right way to go. However, the true right way to go is Jack's way, because you got the Tom Aspinall, Tai Tuivasa for the undisputed heavyweight title. Ideal situation that I want to happen. But I really think there's so many fun fights to make in this division, and any way you can mix and match them, which we've kind of done right now, man, you can't go wrong. Every single one of these is a phenomenal matchup. Real quick though, I want to talk about Curtis Blades' performance, because I haven't done that yet. I already said my whatever to begin with, but I have never been, well, that's not true, but I'm very happy to have been wrong about this. Credit where credit is due to Curtis Blades. And this is how I think he should fight. We look at the Derek Lewis performance when he was one fight away from getting that title shot. If he was winning against Derek Lewis in the first round by winning on the feet, by keeping his distance, doing what he did against Chris Daukaus this last fight night, is what he was doing against Derek Lewis. When he went wrong was where he was like, okay, I'm winning on the feet. This can't last forever. So he shot down and got knocked out. What Curtis Blades needs to realize is that he has the skill set, and he's an ever-growing fighter on the feet, to be competent on the feet, because people are so afraid of him using the takedown. That's something that I wish Derek Brunson would have maybe implemented more throughout his career. It's just that stand-up game. Curtis Blades, I think, has it now, because he has the knockout. He has the technical ability. If he's able to just keep the distance, keep it on the feet, and then if things start not going his way, then implementing the takedown, he's going to be a phenomenal fighter. Because why did he land that shot? It's because he was able to set it up for Chris Daukaus being afraid of the takedown. His corner literally told him going into the second round, Curtis Blades is going to shoot this round. So his hands were lower. He's a little bit more cautious, but he went forward. Curtis Blades capitalized on it and slept him. So I think the future is very bright for Curtis Blades. I think this guy has so much potential in the UFC, but the one thing I am worried about, and the big question is, will he go back to his base every single time, even when he doesn't need to, or will he be a true mixed martial artist and become one of the best heavyweights in the world?
That is the golden question, isn't it, Jack? At one point, does your base start becoming all of your skill set rather than what you started with?
Yeah.
I like that hypothetical you just posed there, Jack. I do like that a lot. I think Curtis Blades is definitely shaping up to become one of the best heavyweights we've seen in a long time. Just to further prove my matchmaking points, because I don't have anything else. Honestly, I love what all of you guys have said, and matchmaking in the heavyweight division is just so much fun, because a lot of these fights happened already. Like Curtis Blades is the reason why we have so much trouble with Curtis Blades. He's fought like everyone, he fights everyone, and in the top five, he's fought a lot of people in the top five already. So you can't put him against Derek Lewis or I can't name another example.
We get what you're saying, Hunter. You're good.
Ngannou, I think. Yeah, exactly. So just to further prove the points, I think that Curtis Blades deserves the number one, the spot at the number one spot, because he beat two people below him already. And I know what you're thinking, okay, he beat two people below him. That's nothing. Having beat someone above him. Those people above him are a little preoccupied right now. If you take a look at the rankings, Stipe Miocic hasn't fought since he lost the belt, and he's probably waiting for that John Jones fight. And not to shit on the John Jones argument versus Curtis Blades here, but I'm going to shit on it a little bit.
Please do.
From a sports perspective, this fight looks perfectly fine. From a business perspective, it's a wasted opportunity if you're making a pay-per-view John Jones event on Curtis Blades. Because he just simply doesn't have the hype that any of the other heavyweights in the top 5 have right now.
Yeah.
Cyril Gane's fresh off a title fight. Stipe Miocic is the best heavyweight of all time. Tai Tuivasa is the shoey man. Tom Aspinall's got that Curtis personality following him, that Tyson Fury skill and the amazing takedown. I don't even want to talk about Tom Aspinall right now because he's so good. But there's so many different looks for the heavyweight division right now. Derek Lewis, still the Black Beast, the funniest guy on the planet. Curtis Blades is the least selling out of all of them. So give him something that people will start opening their eyes for Curtis. Cyril Gane is honestly, he just fought fresh off a title, but he's not the well-known name because he hasn't been in the sport long enough. I think this is perfect for both fighters. They'll build up both of their personalities. They'll build up both their stocks. Obviously, one stock will lose because the fight they'll lose. One person always has to lose. But in general, I think the theory in itself, it works. It's a scientific theory here. I think selling and sports and all that goes together. This is the roster I think we should be going with right here.
You see, guys, there's another problem here. There's a problem that nobody is mentioning apart from me. The problem is this, okay? Massive respect to Curtis Blades. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to make the mistake of questioning him again because he would do worse to me than Will Smith did to Chris Rock. Let's put it that way. Segue at the beginning. You didn't think I could do it. But here's the thing. Are we really going to give him Cyril Gane off of one knockout? Really? Against Chris Daukaus? I can't compute it.
Rosenstruck too. The last year.
Yeah, but it's Jairzinho Rosenstruck. Come on.
Yeah, but he's a higher rank than Daukaus. He's like 8.
He's been ranked number 4 for a while.
Because he's fought everyone else.
Oh, anyway, moving on. Look, one knockout over Chris Daukaus is ranked number 9. Fair enough. There's another problem, even though I do like where you guys are approaching the heavyweight division from. There's one dynamic that you've kind of failed to address. John Jones isn't going to fight. He's not gonna. You're wasting a pick with your fight.
That's no fun,
But it's not fun. John Jones.
He said he was on Twitter.
Have you not seen the workout videos? He hasn't been arrested in a solid 2 months now, dude. John Jones, he's on the way to the top. All right, look,
guys. John Jones is the only person in the history of combat to hold up a division he's never fought in. What makes you think he's going to start now? Come on. It's been nearly 2 years since we last saw him fight.
This Curtis Blades knockout is what's going to inspire John Jones to come right in, and that falls right into my theory. No disrespect, Hunter, but of the whole Tom Aspinall versus Tai Tuivasa theory, right? This is what it's going to cause John Jones to come back.
You know what?
Curtis Blades, it might not make any sense, but who cares? That's the fight they're going to make. And this is what's going to happen.
You know what, Jack? I forgot. I'm sorry. You're absolutely right. Cyril Gane wasn't enough. Tai Tuivasa wasn't enough. What we were waiting on was our Lord and Savior Curtis Blades to get a knockout to entice John Jones to finally fight this division.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Chris Daukaus was the bait that got John Jones out of whatever the hell he's doing. I forgot. You're absolutely right. But yeah, come on, John Jones. It's like the Family Guy meme. Do something. All you're doing is going up and waiting. You're not doing anything, John. You're holding up a division you're not even fighting in, John. Don't get arrested. Stay clean. Go and fight. I don't care if you fight Alexei Oleinik. Go and fight somebody. Because we're doing matchmaking here and people are listening to us, John, and you're making us look bad now, okay? We're trying to do a thing here and you're not helping. So just go fight somebody, all right? And then we'll leave the rest to us, John. Let us do our thing. Let us matchmake who should fight who. I don't care whose it is at this point, but just go and fight someone, okay? Just, all right, rant over.
Absolutely. Well, Keelan, that's very important. Before we move on, before we end off, Hunter, I'm going to leave it with you. We haven't done it in a little bit, but we have 2 fight nights to catch up on. Our fantasy update, what are the scores?
Currently, I'm still in first place with 6 points. Jack, you are at 4 points now. Ooh. And Keelan has got his first point on the board after you win with Kai Kara France. So congratulations, Keelan, and Still got a lot of year to go.
Wait, so I know I got Tom Aspinall, but who did you win? Who got you the 6?
Let's see. I have Ngannou, who got me 2 because of its title fight
Championship.
victory.
Yep.
Sean Strickland got me 1. Colby Covington got me 1.
Mm-hmm.
Davison Figueiredo got me 2 because it was a title fight victory. So 1.
Oh, yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm coming for you. I mean, Keelan's coming for us all now. He's got his first point on the board. So,
boys, we're off the line. Let's go.
Well, guys, fantastic podcast. Thank you, everyone, so much for listening. Make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. You can listen to this podcast everywhere, literally everywhere, including iTunes and Spotify. And make sure to follow us on Instagram at MMA.island and check out our website, MMAisland.net. Great podcast, guys. And thank you, everyone, so much for listening.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for watching.